What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Xtra Innings Podcast. Your host, Elijah here. We're back today with another episode. Been about 2 weeks since we've done an episode, and that's on me. But what I will say, and this time I have a legitimate reason why we had a little bit of a gap. So when I recorded the last one, I was kind of working on my workspace here. I had a laptop. I had too much stuff on my desk for me to actually have a good, solid episode. So I went ahead. We got some new monitors. We got a new docking station so I can have my laptop as well as everything set up here with my iPad here and my phone so I can look stuff up. So it's a much, much cleaner, easier space to do podcasts. So it looks a lot better. So yeah, that was explaining the gap. We're waiting for some stuff to come in and it looks good. It looks a lot better now. But yeah, so today is Sunday, February 15th. If you're listening to this, it may be Sunday. I think I'm going to upload it today. If not, you're more likely listening on Monday the 16th. We got quite a bit of stuff to talk about today, a lot of stuff in the baseball world, some stuff within just the world of baseball. So if you didn't know, NCAA started off their, or NCAA, I guess really Division I started their season, baseball season on Friday. So everyone started playing on Friday. I think Division II started a couple weeks ago because there was a video that I saw of a team playing straight up in the snow, which is crazy. But yes, Division I. Started on Friday, and they had an eventful weekend. There was a few things. One really bad thing, I guess, pretty gross. Two crazy things. We'll start with the good stuff. So a Baylor player, I don't know his name. Let me look that up, actually. Baylor. So a Baylor player who just transferred to Baylor, mind you, from UT Arlington. I read that. Hit 3 grand slams in one game. Tice Armstrong makes his Baylor debut, hitting 3 grand slams in one game. Now, mind you, seeing a grand slam itself, one, singular, is so rare. 2, crazy. 3, I don't think sometimes I was sitting there and I was really trying to fathom this, right? So getting the opportunity to hit a grand slam, right? You got to go bases jammed and then execute in itself is extremely hard and rare. It just doesn't happen very often. You hear a grand slam, you're just like, holy shit, that's crazy. 3 in one game. That means that this dude went up to the plate 3 times, and each time was a bases loaded situation, and each time he went yard. I think I read he's the first player to do it since 1974. Somebody else did it, and there has not been a 3. And even, I don't think it hadn't even happened before this 1974 guy did it. 3 grand slams. You've seen the 3 homers. Hey, 3 homers happens. I think Eugenio Suarez hit 4. Crazy enough last year. No, we're talking 3 grand slams. This means this man alone in this game had 12 runs batted in one game. And it's insane. Baseball, you just see some weird shit. It's just what the hell, right? And then Virginia set a record on, I think, Saturday for scoring 31 runs, or maybe Friday night, 31 runs in one game. Insane. You've seen, I think it was last year, the year before, the Rangers may have put up 30 runs in a game, but 28 or something like that. But you don't see it very often. That's pretty crazy. I will say, before we go any further, some people, if you've played collegiate baseball, especially at the Division I level, the first week or your first series is normally against a lower team. You're not playing a conference team. You're not playing anyone, you're playing a lower end Division I. And it's really just to get your guys moving, right? You want to get going before you kind of hit the stride of the season. So your first, obviously they've been practicing since probably mid-January, probably a little bit earlier than that, obviously coming back from the winter break. And then obviously they're going to hit the ground running now, February, right? But you're not going to go straight in playing the best talent, right? So you got guys like big Division I schools are going to be playing, smaller private universities, still Division I, just not this kind of the star power. So that's normal. You're going to see some crazy scores, but 31 runs is insane. And then 3 grand slams is just ridiculous, right? And on the other half of things, this is something I saw that, I don't want to watch the video again. I'm just not going to. I'm not going to watch it. It got sent to me on Saturday while I was doing legs, mind you. I was literally working out my legs. My buddy sent me the video and I was like, Jesus Christ, now I'm going to do squats and my leg's going to explode, right? But if you don't know what I'm talking about off of that reference itself, So right now they're having a collegiate, I don't know if it's a showcase or tournament, something happened in Puerto Rico. And there was a game. I know the guy's last name is Ford. Hold on, let me see if I can find the guy's name. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So Justin Ford. They're playing, it was Seton Hall. So Seton Hall was playing Boston College in Puerto Rico. There's a big tournament happening over there right now. I know MLB Network's been talking about it for the last couple of days. So Friday night, he hits a home run, which this is super weird. The entire thing is just like, that's why, like, when they say freak accident, this is a freak accident, right? So, he hits a bomb. He's rounding first, jumping and celebrating. When he jumps and comes down, his leg snaps. I mean, nasty snap. If you remember the Kevin Ware break, that kind of snap, it was not good. Really, really not good. And it was just a freak accident, like hitting a home run and then you snap your leg rounding first. Like, it is just insane. When I had to watch it a couple of times, and honestly, I got sent it in a really awkward time because I was literally working out my legs and I was like, I don't even want to finish this anymore because I feel like I'm going to squat and my leg's going to snap, right? Yeah, prayers up, man. That's, again, first game of the season. That's so unfortunate, man. Like, that's the worst. First game of the season, and this guy's obviously going to be out for a while, right? I mean, rightfully so. So prayers up to that guy, Justin Ford, man. He can heal, right? But that was just crazy. It's just like you're doing one of the most craziest things in baseball. You're hitting an absolute moonshot, showing your power, and then you break your leg rounding first. It's just like such a, how, like, what? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You just see it and you're kind of just like in shock. So yes, Division I had an eventful weekend with all three of these things happening. But it's exciting, man. Honestly, college baseball is fun to watch. I usually catch someone I can. So, and then obviously College World Series is a good time as well. So yeah, baseball season is in full swing. Kind of piggybacking off that injury, the baseball world suffered another weird shock on really all last week with the Hammett bone. And if you didn't hear, obviously we had three major injuries in Major League Baseball that kind of it felt weirdly all on the same day, which was strange. It felt like they all came on the same day. So we had Corbin Carroll, Jackson Holliday, and Francisco Lindor. All three have broken Hammett bones in their one of their batting hands. I guess Lindor's a lefty, I think, or righty. I don't know. Holliday's a lefty, and then obviously Corbin Carroll's a lefty. So the big one that really sucks, man, is Corbin Carroll. So Corbin Carroll was slated to play in the World Baseball Classic for Team USA, and if I'm not mistaken, he was probably going to be the starting center fielder or right fielder. Honestly, I think he plays right for the Diamondbacks. Jackson Holliday is another big piece to the Orioles, man. He's going to miss some time. And then Francisco Lindor obviously was already not going to play in the World Baseball Classic, and this kind of set him back. What's super weird, and here, well, let me explain. So if you didn't know, the Hammett bone, the way I was described it, it's a hook on the side of your hand, right on this outer piece here. So if you're a righty, it's going to be right here. If you're a lefty, it's going to be on the other side, right on the outer half of your hand, right? So the only way that I can kind of like understand like why this is happening so frequently, right? So that when you hold the bat, there's some guys who will hold the bat and it's almost like the end of their hand, their pinky is going to be, the knob is going to be almost like right here and their hands are going to be hanging off. And it kind of just gives them a little bit more length on the bat. And it's kind of a comfort thing. Like I used to swing like that, to be honest with you. I didn't have necessarily the amount of power that I think that these guys, not even close to the power that these guys have, right? But I used to hold the bat and I used to hang off of my hand here, right? And what I think's happening, and that's why like people are like, this is crazy, it's happening. And it's kind of like, I think it's weird necessarily that this is all happening at the same time, that it's happening to all three of these guys at the same time. But I don't think it's necessarily a crazy thing that it's happening in baseball. Let me explain why. So when you're swinging, you have all this force coming. And when you're swinging or you stop, all of the force of that bat coming is going directly into your hand, especially if you're holding the bat like that, right? You're holding it with everything hanging off. So when you're swinging, I think like maybe all the force stopping it and that bat's coming is going directly into your hand. And I think after repeated, especially after maybe like an entire season, maybe after an off season, if you taking hack after hack after hack, getting game ready, all that can go into it. That's kind of what I thought. I mean, again, I could be wrong. That's just kind of like my overarching theory of why it's happening to these guys, because it's all that hand. It's everyone's hand is going to be the hand that's holding the bat, right? So that's kind of the thing that makes the most sense. I mean, right? I mean, that's a lot of power going into your hand, especially all that power that you're gearing up to swing. And I mean, these guys have like, they're monsters. They're monsters. So when they have all that power coming in, it's going to one place and then doesn't go, it's going into that hand. That's what I think's happening. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but like, what are you going to do, right? It's a freak thing. It's not something that you can like necessarily prevent other than like changing the way that you hold the bat. And again, there's people saying like, oh, you can use the axe bat, you don't have that problem. Guys are saying, well, hold the bat right. I mean, all that. But yes, I mean, it's a preference thing. Like, that's not going to change. And it's just an unfortunate thing. Bad timing, obviously, for Corbin Carroll. But here's the weird thing that I was super like, I was just kind of like thrown off. So the timing of the healing of this surgery, because it is a surgery, they're going to remove it right from their hands. So Corbin Carroll was thrown into question. They said that he's more than likely not going to be ready for opening day. Obviously missing the World Baseball Classic because that's happening in literally probably 3 weeks. So he's, missing all of that and is in question to start opening day. Jackson Holliday is also said to be, missing, probably going to be missing opening day. But Francisco Lindor, David Stern said that Francisco Lindor should be ready by opening day. Now, maybe you're talking the significance of the injury, of how bad the bone's broken. And obviously it's going to be different from player to player in their recovery time. I'm just kind of like, how is Lindor going to be ready? Game ready. And these other guys are going to have to take it slow. Again, you want to take it player to player. Everyone's, recovery plan is going to be different. Not everyone's the same. You can't say they're going to be ready by X. You could just give a timeline, right? So I think it's just kind of weird. And I know Francisco Lindor has had a pretty like crazy injury history. He's played through like broken toes and all kinds of stuff. Maybe Francisco Lindor is just a monster. But at the same time, I'm kind of just like, that's weird that Lindor is going to be back and these other guys are like, I don't know when I'm going to be back. And again, for me, I was like hoping to go catch some games, some World Baseball Classic, because they are going to be in Houston at Daikin. And I was like, damn, I want to go. But that sucks that Corbin Carroll's not going to make it out there, man. And obviously a big piece to the Diamondbacks. He's one of their guys. So he's going to miss some time there, and Holiday as well for the Orioles. So it's unfortunate. But again, like just a weird instance that all three of these guys went down and they had surgery quick, right? It was like the same day that they felt it, that they were diagnosed with the Hammett bone, boom, going to surgery immediately. But so we hope a speedy recovery for those guys. Next on my list, kind of moving away from the injury bug. Big signing that happened, obviously, for the Tigers. So the Tigers also signed Framber Valdez. That was signed early or late last week, I think. And then they inked the man, Justin Verlander, who's going back to Detroit, where it all started. Crazy. I've seen a lot of people kind of go back and forth. I think Justin Verlander's he's 42. Won the Cy Young back in 2022. So you're kind of like, it's one of those things where like, I remember I had kind of him and Max Scherzer on this weird bubble of like, who's going to take them? What's it going to kind of look like? We saw towards the end of, obviously Max Scherzer threw in the World Series. And he showed that he still has it. He doesn't have the same life that he had, 10 years ago, but he's still got, some stuff. Verlander was another guy that like, he has some stuff, right? So let's kind of I wanted to look at his stats because there were some guys who were like, what can you really expect out of Justin Verlander? And, I don't necessarily think that, he's going to come out and be like your number one by any means. When he comes into a rotation, you want him there more like a consultant in the sense that he knows so much about baseball and like how much he's reinvented himself throughout his career, right? And then also he can still pitch, man. He's still throwing really well. Like, let's look at this here. So people were like, does he even have anything left? Blah, blah, blah. So in 2024, I'm not going to lie. In 2024, he had a rough year. It was a 5.48 ERA. He was 5-6. He only threw 90 innings, though. So obviously he had some injury working there. But like last year, he threw 152 innings at 41 years old, 42 years old, and a 3.85 ERA. I don't care who you are. A 3.85 ERA in 150 innings is serviceable in any part of the league. Any starting rotation could use this. And again, like you're looking at a guy who's been in the league. And one of the things that I think that's super interesting about Justin Verlander, right? Again, you're not going to get when everyone thinks Justin Verlander, they think of like, Obviously, Cy Young in 2022, where he had what did he have in 2022? He won the Cy Young in 2022, a 1.75 ERA in 175 innings, bro. That is insane. But the thing that's super cool about Justin Verlander is like he busted into the league, made his debut in 2005. It's now 2026. He's now pitched in Major League Baseball for 21 seasons, 21 years. And I think what's super interesting, and you look at guys like obviously Max Scherzer, you look at Justin Verlander, like Clayton Kershaw, who obviously retired last year with the Dodgers. All these guys, when they broke into the league long ago, they were completely different pitchers than they are now. You saw it with Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw used to throw mid-high 90s, and by the time he was done playing like last year, he was very much a completely different pitcher because you can't make, like, obviously you're not going to be able to throw 100 miles an hour into your 40s. Aroldis Chapman he's a special case. That's a weird situation. But again, Aroldis Chapman's not going out there for 6 innings a game. He's going out there for 1, maybe 2. And I think it's really cool that some of these pitchers are able to extend their career so long because they change their pitching persona throughout the year. And again, with a league that's as good as this, as Major League Baseball, you have to continuously improve and change because once the league figures you out, you see it all the time. Pitchers that'll have one really good year and then they're unable to reinvent themselves again, and the league spits them out, chews them up and spits them out, and you don't see them again. I think like one really interesting guy that comes to mind when I think of this aspect is like Jake Arrieta. Jake Arrieta, when the Cubs won in 2016, he had a legendary run in 2016. But before, he was one of those guys that just bounced around teams his entire career, landed with the Cubs and was just legendary, came back the next year, was decent, and then, just gone. That's not discrediting him. It's just like, that's what he had. And he had the league in pretty much in the palm of his hand. And then it kind of changes because the game is so talented that it figures people out. We got film, we got all kinds of stats, we got everything on you, right? So the thing that's really like crazy about Justin Verlander and his repertoire, his pitching repertoire, is that over these 21 years, it's almost like every year, every 5-6 years, you're seeing a different version of Justin Verlander. So like the version you saw in 2011, 2012 to the version you saw in 2022, two completely different guys that are pitching two completely different ways. Like, yes, Justin Verlander still throws 93, 95, right? 96. He can run it up there. But like, you're talking about the guy, like if you look back in 2010, 2011, even before that, you're looking at a guy who would start throwing in the mid 90s. And then by the 6th, 7th inning, he's throwing 103. Like, he would just ramp it up. Obviously, Justin Verlander is not going to do that anymore. But you're seeing a really it's just a different kind of pitcher. And I think that's so impressive that they're able to extend their lives, their careers in Major League Baseball because they're able to change their pitching persona. And I think that's like Justin Verlander is like a class study of someone who's been able to do that. And I mean, obviously pitching, obviously San Francisco wasn't the greatest team last year. So 4-11, I always find it funny that like we rank so much on winning records for starting pitchers. I don't think that's necessarily always fair because it doesn't tell the whole story. Like, he threw a 3.85 ERA, which is, it's not like elite, but it's good. And he had a 4-11 record, which is not entirely on him because you can give up 2 runs and lose a game. So I don't think that should be necessarily counted against him. But I mean, obviously Justin Verlander going back to Detroit is kind of like nostalgic in a sense. But he's for sure a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, you can't even argue. I pulled up his like just the sheer like looking at his career highlights and awards. Again, we don't know. I don't know how much more he's got in the tank or how much longer he's going to be pitching, right? I would assume maybe another like 2 to 3 years. I would assume he's going for another 2 to 3 years if I had to guess, including this year. Right. So it'd be interesting. But listen to this stat line for this guy. 9-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, AL MVP in 2011. Obviously, he won the World Series in 17 and 22, both with Houston Astros. Never won with Detroit, obviously. 3-time Cy Young winner, 2011, 2019, 2022. Triple Crown 2011. 2 times All MLB First Team. AL Rookie of the Year in 2006. ALCS MVP 2017. Comeback Player of the Year 2022. 4 times AL Wins Leader. 2 times AL ERA Leader. 5 times AL strikeout leader, and he's pitched not 1, not 2, 3 no-hitters. And again, going back to what I was kind of talking about a few seconds ago about how he's changed his pitching repertoire, right? He's thrown 3 no-hitters, 2007, 2011, and 2019. Imagine throwing one in 2007. You're seeing one version of Justin Verlander. And then you're seeing him throw another no-hitter literally 12 years later. It's sometimes you don't quite fathom how incredible that is and how much talent that he really has. And again, first ballot Hall of Famer, no questions asked. It's going to be insane. So back to the question that everyone's asking is, what are the Tigers going to get out of Justin Verlander? To be honest, I mean, again, here's the thing that people don't really look at. Like, they're not expecting him to be 1 or 2. You've got, you have the Cy Young winner on your team, mind you. You have Tarek Skubal. And here's the thing, like, people, when they signed Framber, people thought, okay, are they getting Framber? Kind of moving away from Justin Verlander here. We're going to talk about the Tigers really quick. Because I'm kind of like, their starting rotation is kind of filthy. I mean, people think that the Framber is going to replace Tarek Skubal because obviously with the arbitration case that happened, quick hit on that. There's a lot happening with the Tigers, right? So Tarek Skubal won his arbitration case, so he's going to make, I think, the highest arbitration in the history of arbitration. I think he's going to make quite a bit. That is what it is. It's a whole other conversation. We're not going to talk about that. Point is, I thought that they were going to maybe try to trade him off. I think that was a lot of conversation because while you have him, you want to get something out of him. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Could they still deal him technically at the deadline? Yes. I think that it seems like they're going all in, right? And they have a good enough team that I think they might want to keep Tarek Skubal for a bit. And again, you never know. They could, and free agency, go after him again and make him a massive contract. You don't know. But for all intents and purposes of this year, starting the year, he is going to be a Tiger. So now you have Tarek Skubal, Framber Valdez, Jack Flaherty, Justin Verlander, and then Casey Mize. That's a solid 5-man rotation if I've ever seen one. You got an all-star, recent all-star in Casey Mize, Hall of Famer Justin Verlander, Framber Valdez, who just eats innings regardless of all the shit that you can talk about with the clubhouse and if he's a dickhead, I don't know. He's going to eat innings for you and go out there and give you quality starts if you don't piss him off and hope your catcher calls what he wants, right? No, I'm just kidding. And then Jack Flaherty, who's shown that he can be really consistent on the mound. And then again, that's 5 really solid dudes on the mound. And then obviously they have quite a bit of power, in that lineup. So I'm expecting them to do some damage this year. Hopefully they can do it. It'd be really interesting to see. But yes, Justin Verlander back with the Tigers, back where it all started. I'm excited to see what he's going to do there. The next one, oh man, this is one that it confuses me. It confuses me. I don't understand it. A lot of people didn't understand it either, right? So I'm a big D-back fan. I really started to watch them. Let's just get into it before we go any further about the Diamondbacks. So Zac Gallen signed a 1-year deal back with the Diamondbacks. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Diamondbacks actually offered Zac Gallen a 1-year offer at the end of the year. And everyone was like, are you going to take it? It was a qualifying offer. And everyone was like, he should definitely take it. And I was one of the people that was like, absolutely, he should take it. And he declined it. Now, before we go any further, he is a Scott Boras client. So that in itself is a whole other conversation as well. Obviously, we know Scott Boras and his tactics. Obviously, you knew with the Juan Soto, with the Cody Bellinger, with all these massive stars, and he likes to get paid and likes to make sure his players get paid. And that seems to be maybe something that was happening on this end, right? And I've been watching Zac Gallen for quite some time. I watched him kind of come up. Fun fact that a lot of people don't know is that he was actually on the Miami Marlins and was part of the big trade that sent Jazz Chisholm to Miami. Crazy. That was the original trade, which is nuts. Now they're both like bona fide big leaguers, right? But another story for another day, just kind of a crazy fun fact. But yeah, so the whole time he denies the qualifying offer. And I think that was valued at like 22.05, 22 million. And he wanted a deal. And I get it. At your age 30 season as a pitcher. And again, there's the whole looming lockout that they say may or may not happen. Personally, I don't think there's going to be a lockout. Baseball is in too good a spot for them to afford to do this. Like, figure it out beforehand and let the game roll on. Like, you don't need a lockout. That's not good for business right now, especially for Major League Baseball being as fun and as watched as it is. I don't think that baseball has been as exciting, or not a lot of people, as many people have been watching it as they are now. So hopefully they can get past that. But anyway, for him, it was like, I want to ink a long-term deal and I want something set. And again, going into free agency, that's what everyone wants. You see a lot of guys. And the thing was, the free agency thing's kind of weird in the sense that, like, you're not seeing long-term deals anymore. It's just strange, right? Like this year, I think, like, you're not seeing like Bryce Harper and Derek Cole and all those guys signing for 10 years. You're not seeing the 10-year deal anymore. And I don't know if that's like the necessarily like the state of the game, if it's because of this whole lockout thing impending or anything else going on in the game. There's just teams not taking massive risks like that. Obviously, Juan Soto signed the big one last year, and I think that was the last one we saw that was really like a big contract. And obviously Shohei, but Shohei was a different. That's a whole other, that's a whole other class of ball player you're talking there, right? So I think this year, obviously, you saw a couple 5 years. I think Pete Alonso got a 5-year, Bregman got a 5-year. A lot of 3 years for these pitchers. So I'm not quite sure, I did read that there was quite a few longer term offers on the table for him, but I think that the money was what the issue was. And I think that may go back on Boris for maybe overvaluing him. And here's the deal, right? Especially for Zac Gallen, you look at everything. 2023, he was a contender for the Cy Young, had a great year. 2022 was 2024 was and then last year was just not a good year. For the half the year, I think from like opening day to the All-Star break, he was not a good pitcher. There was flashes that he was good. There was flashes that he still had those things. And like me watching, again, I caught a lot of his starts because I watched a lot of Diamondbacks baseball. I guess the strategy is what changed. He was being very, he was being very cute and like biting and nibbling at the zone. Like he didn't want to come in with the fastball. And then a lot of people were like, well, is he hurt? Is he not wanting to throw? But then he would throw the fastball and it would still be, 94, 95, 96. So you're kind of just like, what's going on, right? And I think there was maybe some miscommunications, or maybe they were trying something different and it didn't work, and it happens, right? That's part of the game. But then obviously after the All-Star break, he came back a completely different pitcher and was like pitching like his normal self, like a return to form. And you're kind of like, yeah. But, with that, is that still enough that you can justify to clubs like, hey, pay me like I was in 2023, 2024? And it's not going to happen, man. You had a really awful year. Like you pitched to a 4.83 ERA. Like, to say that you're a long-term guy, 3, 4, 5 year, 3 year, you want a Ranger Suarez contract, it's just not going to happen, man. Like I think that Zac Gallen still has it. I think that he showed that at the end of the year. I just don't think now was the time to go after it in this free agency. And it does suck that like there may be the lockout. And it does suck that you had an awful year going into your free agency, but that's the hand you're dealt, right? So all that to say, when they offered him the qualifying offer of $22 million for 1 more year to avoid free agency at the beginning of the year, to now accept it, it does look bad. It does look like the well dried up and he didn't have the money he wanted out there. But I don't think that's true. I think that there was offers. It just wasn't for the dollar amount he wanted. And I do think that he can come back and really show something and then go back in the next free agency and get maybe what he was looking for. And again, but by next year, the market will be completely different. So there could be somebody that needs him at that point. But I think that this is going to be a make or break year. And they're going to give you the year. They're going to give you the same qualifying offer basically that they gave you in October, November, and do what you will with it. He's not going to be the opening day starter. Merrill Kelly's going to be the opening day starter. They announced that a couple days ago. Who's also coming back, who they traded at the deadline to Texas and then brought him back on a 2-year deal. But I'm excited, man. They got pretty much a good staff. They got Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly back. They did trade Blaze Alexander, which I was kind of confused about. They did pick up Nolan Arenado. They still have Gerardo Perdomo at short. They're going to have Ketel Marte at first. They have Gabby behind the plate. They have McCann behind the plate. Like they're not a bad team. They're a scrappy team. They're going to be fun to watch. Like I'm going to be catching a lot of games. So in the end of the day, Zac Gallen goes back and signs a 1-year 22, which is basically what they gave him at the end of the year. But to be honest, I think that he wanted to stay in Arizona. I really think that was like I think that was kind of like the thing. I think maybe he was hoping that Arizona was the one that was going to give him the longer deal. But again, like even me as a fan of the player, I could not, in good faith, look at the stat line from last year and be like, yeah, man, I'm going to pay you the 150 million that you want. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be like, take the year, show me that you're still Zac Gallen, and we'll talk. Like or hell, maybe we extend you mid-year, but you got to take this 1 year and then we'll figure it out from there. I just, maybe poor decision making from his agent. Personally, I'm not a fan of Scott Boras, so it could have been Scott Boras' fault. But at the end of the day, Zac Gallen is back as a Diamondback. And it's going to be exciting. Again, I have all the faith in the world that he's going to show up and he's going to show out. Now, Nick Castellanos. Okay. So we kind of knew this was already going to happen. We knew that this was something that was going to, I think the relationship between Nick Castellanos and the Phillies has been strained for quite some time. And to be 100% honest, I was never a really big fan of Nick Castellanos, and just the way he how do I say this? The way that he carries himself necessarily is the way, I guess. Like, he carried himself like he was Bryce Harper or Trey Turner, like one of these like mega stars. And I'm like, bro, like your game is very clunky. It's very like, just not a fan of the way he plays ball. But he had this persona, like he was this guy, and I just never really cared for it. There was a lot of attitude, the way he talked to media, the way he just the stories you hear about the way he talked to Rob Thompson, just stuff, right? You're just kind of like, I don't know about that guy, right? Well, what we all kind of thought and knew was true, like the Phillies were not going to reunite with him. That was not going to be an option. And then there was an incident we have to talk about that apparently happened that makes me just question a lot more about Nick Castellanos. But yes, so the Phillies actually released him. I thought they were going to try to trade him, to be honest with you. I thought maybe that was a trade piece they were going to try to get rid of, but they just downright said, we just wiped their hands, we're done. And then there was an incident that I read about, he called it the beer incident. That alone should raise some eyebrows. See if I can find it here, but yeah, just a very strange, just weird, right? But we kind of knew after last year there was some chatter going around that him and Rob Thompson were getting at, going at it, and he was upset and disappointed with the coaching decisions and all kinds of stuff. And then we kind of come to this point where like you kind of knew like they're probably going to part ways. So he wrote and then this past week, this is right before, and that's what I'm saying. But I think both parties knew that there was not going to be a reunion between the Phillies and Nick Castellanos. His agents knew that. So he was getting ready to say bye anyway. And then we saw this handwritten letter. It kind of leaked. It didn't leak. He posted it on his Instagram, and I saw it all over the place. Kind of like a thank you letter to Philly, but then also one called the Miami incident. So I'm going to read it so we can kind of, and again, it's chicken scratch. So I'm going to try my best to kind of decipher this. So here's the first one. It's called Philadelphia. It says, John, thank you for what you have provided my family with. Dave, thank you for the opportunity, which is Dabrowski, obviously, which his comments on Harper kind of make you think that maybe there is a little bit of stuff happening in this clubhouse behind the scenes. He says, staff, thank you for helping me prepare. And then it says, Paco or Doc, I think it's Paco. 414 is just as much yours as it is mine. You are the man in any room you walk into. Then he says, my teammates, I love you guys. Te quiero mucho. Playing with you all will be a core memory for the rest of my life. To the people of the city, thank you for showing up these past 4 years, applauding or booing. You were there. Remember, the sharp attention and powerful passion you have for your sports teams are not married to the lens of the media companies that cover them. The color of your collective soul is your own paint. Together, it just says together. And then above all, thank you for embracing Liam the way that you did. That's his son. Cool. I get that. The way you did for that, I can never repay. To all who are reading, I wish you all strong health and peace of mind. Okay. Now we get to the beer incident. And this alone is just a bizarre story. So this one's titled The Miami Incident. Okay, apparently I need to address the Miami incident as one of my friends on the team has informed me there is an article waiting to come out without my consent or comments about the situation. I'm just going to share it myself. As a veteran of the game of baseball, there are rules, and I broke one in Miami. After being taken out of a close ball game in front of my friends and family, I brought a Presidente into the dugout. I'm assuming a Presidente is a beer, right? Then I brought a Presidente into the dugout. I then sat right next to Rob and let him know that too much slack in some areas and too tight of restrictions in others are not conducive to us winning. Shout out to my teammates and Howie, which is Howie Kendrick, mind you, for taking the beer out of my hands before I could take a sip. I appreciate you guys. Sip of coffee there. After the game, I went into the office with Dave and Rob. We aired out our differences, and the conversation ended with me apologizing for letting my emotions get the best of me. I would like to note that I was ready to share the details of the incident in its entirety to the media the next day, but was instructed not to by management. The punishment I received for my actions was the benching the following game. I love this game. I love being a teammate, and I am addicted to winning. I will learn from this. Okay. Here, I don't care. Like, you can be upset you got benched. You can be upset you came out of a game. Why did you need to go to the dugout or the clubhouse, grab a beer, and then think that it was okay to not only take the beer, start drinking in the middle of the game, but take the beer up out of the clubhouse and then go try to sit next to your manager while having a beer? Was it ever a good idea? Just shocking. Just who like, and again, emotions, I let the emotions get the best of me. It looks like you just lost logical reasoning all the way around. Like, what are you doing? Maybe trying to prove a point that like you're lax in some areas, but not in others. So I'm just going to bring a beer up here because no, dude, it just doesn't make sense. None of it does. And again, I of course, like, I don't think that any club's going to hold that against him. There was obviously a lot of tension between him and that, management group. So maybe that was the issue. Maybe he was trying to prove a point. I don't know. Point is that regardless of that incident or not, nobody heard about that, which is surprising. I mean, I figured we would have heard something could have leaked, but I guess it didn't. So hearing about that now, you just kind of knew, like, yeah, Nick Castellanos was not going to come back. And again, even more funny, I saw a video the other day of the media asking like Kyle Schwarber what he thought about Nick Castellanos and if he was a distraction in the clubhouse. And he like really had a hard time putting anything to words. Like, I don't know if he was thinking of like, I don't know what to say here, to like, I don't want to come off like being a douche about Nick Castellanos, or like, I just really don't want to answer this question because he is a distraction in the clubhouse. So again, it just didn't look like there was a good match there. And I think it might be best that these guys kind of move forward and went their separate ways. So at the end of the day, the Phillies released him and now he is a Padre. I'm not quite sure what he played a lot of left and right field. I know that they have Jackson Merrill in center and they have, Tatis in right. So maybe he's their left fielder. I'm not quite sure what the capacity is there. I think that the Padres are a great team, and whether that's a good fit or not, I guess that remains to be seen. So we're going to see what happens there. Just crazy news about this whole beer thing and why that was. His reasoning is just kind of stupid in my opinion. But again, we'll never know. That's just super weird. Moving forward, kind of talking about my Yankees. Now, I saw some stuff about the Yankees. Garrett Cole, there was a lot of footage of Garrett Cole hopping back on a mound for the first time. Obviously, missed all of last year to Tommy John surgery. I'm not going to lie. He looks damn good on the mound. I saw some footage of him throwing some sliders and fastballs. Looked like there was one he was throwing, and Aaron Boone's throwing up a 6 and going 96, like he's pumping 96 miles an hour. So definitely a good sign. What I'm weirded out about is they're like Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon are not going to be available till like midsummer, like June, July time, but they're throwing off the mound now. And I get it. Of course, you're ramping up, right? You're not just going to go out there and let him throw, let him throw, full game, 5-6 innings, right? It's not going to happen. They're going to have to like ease them into it more than they're already easing in all their other guys. So I get it. But like, I thought Carlos Rodon just had like surgery and he's like out throwing. So I don't quite know the I guess what the, and again, maybe maybe it's rightfully so that I don't know what's going on over there, but it looks like they're looking damn good and they're ready to go. But that's just me. And I kind of wanted to take a second. I mean, looking at who they've got, like I think that, that whole division, there's a lot of starting rotations in that. I mean, but between the Blue Jays, the Yankees, and the Red Sox, I think that's 3. And then you have the Tigers, which are obviously not in the same division, but there's quite a bit of really good starting rotations in baseball this year. Like you look at the Red Sox, you got Crochet, you have Connolly early over there, Peyton Tolley. They just got Ranger Suarez. Giolito's not there anymore, but he was there last year, so I don't know where he's going to sign. But that alone, the Red Sox have some dudes. I mean, obviously subtracting Giolito, all those guys are just monsters. The Grant Crochet Ranger Suarez combo right there alone is enough to do some damage. And you got the Blue Jays. I mean, the Blue Jays have Dylan Cease, who they signed. They've got Jose Barrios. They got Shane Bieber. They've got Trey Savage. They got Kevin Gausman. Like, I mean, they got dudes, bro. They got, I mean, Jesus. And the Yankees, I think the Yankees, even without Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon, you got Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, Schmidt, Cam Schlittler, Ryan Yarbrough. Then you got Weathers. So they have a handful of guys that they're going to pick from. And then the minute that you get, you get Cole back and you get Rodon back. Oh, and Fried. You forgot Max Fried. Like, all those guys, they have a surplus of arms that are just ready to go. Like, all three of those guys going at it in the same division is going to be just nuts. I think it's going to be like an absolute cage match. And I'm excited, man. Some of this starting pitching is going to be ridiculous. I think there was like now that I think about it, I think there was something about Cam Schlittler hurting himself, hurting like a back problem or a lat problem. And everyone's like, oh my God, oh no, Cam Schlittler's down. And then he was like, actually, I'm fine. Like, I had a lat soreness and I'm good to go. And he was shown throwing. So I think everything's going to be fine. But yeah, I'm super excited looking at, some of this stuff that's happening in these starting rotations is going to be filthy. But yes, Garrett Cole is looking really good. I mean, the one thing I did notice, he's going with an over the head. He used to kind of do just here. Now he's going to do the classic like over the head thing, which is kind of crazy. But he's looking damn good. He's looking really good. And then last on my list is kind of something even more weird than this beer incident we were talking about earlier, right? So obviously we know that the World Baseball Classic is starting probably here in a couple weeks. And if you didn't know, Puerto Rico's been having a really tough time. Team Puerto Rico has been having a really tough time getting their stars to want to play. Obviously, they lost Francisco Lindor, who's not going to participate, obviously, with the Hammett bone, but I think he was dealing with something before that. Jose Barrios got denied insurance. Carlos Correa got denied insurance. And there was like a point in time where I think the managers were like, we're just going to pull out of the whole thing. Like, you're not letting any of our players play. So kind of a little background as I go into this story. So in order to play in the World Baseball Classic, you have to get cleared by insurance, meaning that they're kind of clearing you good to play, and you have to have medical insurance backing you as you go, because you're technically not working for your employer, though you have to have their consent to go play, meaning you have to have medical insurance and be covered to go play. That's how this works. So you have to basically apply. So apparently there's been quite a few guys. So Jose Barrios got denied, but he missed a good chunk of time last year to injury. So it kind of makes sense. You're like, yeah, we're probably not going to kind of, approve you to go out there and play just yet, because, yeah, you missed quite a bit of time. You had some arm issues. Maybe we're not going to do that. Okay. And then they didn't approve. Lindor was another one that I think didn't approve or just wasn't going to, because he was dealing with injury stuff. And then obviously he had the Hammett bone issue, and he's going to be missing some time there originally. So he's going to miss the whole Classic anyway. And then Carlos Correa got denied insurance as well. Because here's the deal, right? You want to make sure like you're not working for your employer. Basically, you're going and playing somewhere else. So we want to make sure that we have insurance on you in case you do get hurt. Like you're good to go. Basically, we're going to get this, we're going to get the money, you're going to get fixed, and you're going to come back and basically work for us. That's the entirety of the situation. But what doesn't make sense, and I'm going to say this, what doesn't make sense, and this is where I kind of don't understand the difference. So you didn't approve Carlos Correa. And I get it. Carlos Correa has had quite a few injuries in his career. He's 35, 36 years old. All that plays a factor into whether your injury history, where you're at now, your current health, your age, all of it, I'm sure, goes into whether they're going to approve you or not. But they approved Byron Buxton. And if you don't know Byron Buxton, he's an outfielder for the Twins, and he has missed so much time for injury. I feel like he's injured at least twice a year, and it's like for extensive periods of time. Like there was a point in time where I feel like he missed so much ball because he was hurt, yet they approved him. No questions asked. And I don't know why they did that, but they didn't approve all these other guys. Is it biased? I don't know. It just seems very strange. But I did see that Bad Bunny apparently tried to pay for Carlos Correa's insurance. He was going to back his pay, and I think Carlos Correa denied it, or he just didn't want to go down that road. But I don't think I'd be able to do it either. But it's just funny that Bad Bunny obviously performed in the Super Bowl last weekend, and it's kind of been in and out of the news about all kinds of stuff, the performance, and obviously the skepticism of him even doing the performance, all kinds of stuff, right? Bad Bunny's been in the news. And it's just funny that he's like, I'll pay for Carlos Correa to play in the World Baseball Classic. And I think that too kind of shows how big this event is, because I love the World Baseball Classic. I think it's awesome to see players from different countries, from different areas of the world be able to come together and perform for their country. And it's good baseball. It's like the best of the world performing for their homeland. It's like really badass, I think, in my opinion. And it just shows you all the people that want this to happen and want it to be the best kind of like quality of ball. If you get the best players out there, it makes the baseball game even better, and it makes the whole event better. And not having a lot of these guys be able to play kind of sucks. It's just not the same. But here's the thing. Then you play devil's advocate, right? You play devil's advocate, and you're like, well, how many guys last World Baseball Classic got hurt and missed a lot of time? Obviously, the Edwin Diaz thing was weird. And the Edwin Diaz thing was when he was celebrating and then he broke his leg. Not as bad as the guy we were talking about earlier, but still happened. And then he missed a good amount of time. Took him a while to come back. Then you had Jose Altuve, who got hit in the hand, broke his hand. He was gone for some time. That was obviously a different part of the hand, not the Hammett bone. He got drilled by a pitch on the top of the hand. He missed time. So there is the risk. And it's not to say that I don't understand the risk, because I know the risk. I get it. I understand where these clubs are coming from. We want you to play for us. We want you to be able to perform for us so we get our money's worth. That's what this is about. It's not about, the physical act of you going and playing. It's not about that. It's the risk. And I get it. But at the same time, this whole thing is really good for baseball, and having those guys play means much more than just a couple bucks where these clubs have the millions of dollars. It doesn't matter, right? So, and I can get the frustration. There's a lot of frustration coming from that side of the World Baseball Classic, and I can get it. I emphasize. So hopefully, whether it's this year we get that figured out, or moving forward we get that figured out, because it is taken away from the game. It is taken away from the game. So interesting. So maybe, and then again, maybe Carlos Correa changes his mind and lets Bad Bunny pay for that insurance policy. I don't know. But it's crazy, just crazy. And that shows you how widespread baseball is right now, and who's really invested in it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Again, thank you for bearing with me. If you're still here, if you're still listening to the Xtra Innings Podcast, I appreciate it. We're looking to get things rolling, man. Baseball season's here on all facets, right? Not just MLB. We got college stuff happening, so it'll be good. It'll be good, man. Again, we got a new setup. We got everything set up, so we're good to go. There should be no more breaks in content. Yeah, I'm excited, guys. Baseball season is here. Best time of the year. So again, guys, be sure to follow me on Instagram. I got stuff posted on there. TikTok, I got stuff posted on there. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys think. If you think I'm completely wrong about something, let me know. Let's talk about it. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.